Hey guys, and welcome to episode 18 of All the Mods 10. Now, before we get started with this episode, I want to say that I have created a small Discord server, and it's still in the works, but I will be putting it in the description from here on out because quite a few people have asked about it, and I just hadn't got around to. In fact, it was somewhat ready for episode 17, but I just sort of forgot to put it in there. So, case off for Gar. Who would have thought? Anyways, link in the description. Join the Discord. In episodes, I have put in bees for iron, as well as aluminum, and copper and tin. And I'm slowly but surely moving away from those drawers, like I mentioned earlier, and tossing in more and more bulk item storages for things like essence and other stuff that I will be farming. And that is because I would much rather hoard these items instead of just white them away over here. And in this episode, I would like to use this space over here to tackle Pneumaticraft and slowly start automating things required to make the improbable probability device. And I think the first thing to tackle rather easily would be the rainbow furnace, because this is all just crafting stuff, I reckon. And this is all stuff that I should just be able to make with the materials I already have. Now, I would have to make patterns for each and every single one of these furnaces, but that's quite alright. And once these are done, I'll see you on the other side. Gold, diamond, obsidian, emerald, crystal, silver, and copper. And after just a little bit of extra pattern coding for the stuff in the core, I should now just be able to request 2 of these, and hopefully I have everything. I have a different type of silver, apparently. This is trying to use Railcraft Reborn. 1 second, please. Okay, take 2. Now that I have smelted up my silver, this should just be auto-crafting all the glass, and yep, it'll be done in a few seconds, actually. We can witness it live. That's already done. Here's 2. Next up, we would need something called the aerial interface, which quite obviously needs us to get into Pneumaticraft, but apparently not that far. Actually, it requires assembly controller, so quite far. I had already started recording a little bit of a build time lapse, but while brainstorming just a tiny bit, I had a little bit of an epiphany. What if I make the Pneumaticraft area, which is going to be the space that I'm standing in, be symmetric over this bar right here instead of sticking to the 9 or the 7 or the 5 wide rooms or spaces that I've been building so far? What if I just choose to build a, again, odd numbered room, but just centered around here? So I can make another small cubby in that corner and then mirror all these designs on the other side. I think I'll just cut to that and start time-lapsing this because, I don't know, I feel like it. I just want to relax and still record. Isn't that quite the jump cut? I've been dilly-dallying, watching some TV and some YouTube, catching up, and just slowly built this up. Now, this path does go a block higher into that area there, so this area here doesn't actually connect down to this spot. Maybe I'll put like a single stair in this spot just to go down to the Pneumaticraft area, but I don't know. So let's get started with a little bit of Pneumaticraft. Pneumaticraft, as the name suggests, relies on compressed air to carry out crafting operations, and the big crafting table or the crafting machine for Pneumaticraft is a pressure chamber. Now, the pressure chamber is made with pressure chamber walls, which are made with reinforced bricks, which are made with reinforced stone, which is just stone and compressed iron. And compressed iron is made with explosion crafting, so if you throw down some iron and set off an explosion next to it, you lose 20% and the rest turns into the compressed iron. Now, to build a pressure chamber, I like to build it as a hollow 3x3 cube, although I know people who go up to a 4x4 too, but this is more my style because it's smaller and it comes up to pressure faster, and as you can see, I'm leaving a few gaps around here, and hopefully I have enough stuff. But one of these would be the controller, one of these would be the valve, and one of these would be the interface. Actually, I think I'm going to put the interface instead of this face. I'm going to take the output, or actually I'll put the input on the left. That is facing the wrong way. I would like the input to be on the left, and I'll put the output on the right. The valve can be in the back, like so. And I would need the interface, another one of these, and I think that's about it really. And after putting all that in place, I have placed pressure chamber glass in all of this, and the multi-block is now assembled. I got an achievement for it and everything. So this is a 3x3x3 pressure chamber. You can put a bunch of crap inside it, which you'll be able to see in here. And as it comes up to pressure, you can see that the crafts are completed in the green area for everything. So for example, the creative compressor crafts at this very specific 4.99 bar. And similarly, the Aldermod Star also works at 4.9 bar. Of course, the first upgrade I put in is a security upgrade, but to complete the quest, I would need 2 of them. And I'm missing this, which means I'm missing these, one of the pressure gauges. I wonder if that's a standalone block I can use just for detail. But a couple more levers. In fact, I'll just craft all of my sticks into levers because I foresee myself needing a whole bunch of these. In fact, I should have made a whole boatload of these guys too. Safety tubes, why not? Now that this entire thing is complete, to get stuff into it, Pneumaticraft offers you the use of a omnidirectional hopper. You can just shift click into any direction and it just puts things in. So you can point it into the interface. And on the other side, I had noticed that I'd placed this backwards, but you gotta place both of them facing the same way. So if I place this from the outside, I have to place this from the inside because these will move items in the direction you're facing. So if I place the input facing into the container, or the pressure chamber in this case, I have to put the extractor facing out. And then you get this guy, which is exporting, and the other guy, which is importing. And yes, you can see that I made the manual. I'm a big believer in RTFMing, which stands for read the freaking manual. You should just go through and read all of these. It's just helpful. But anyways, in my time spent looting around, I have found myself quite a few items just scattered throughout the villages. Fortunately, one of them being the advanced air compressor, as well as air compressors. Now, air compressors compress air, as the name suggests, but they do it at the cost of some fuel. And the advanced air compressor compresses the air, but also puts out some heat, and you should try to sink away the heat to keep the efficiency up, because the higher the temperature, the less efficient this compressor is. And for now, I've just grabbed some pressure tube, which I will hook up to my pressure chamber. And I think I should put an inline regulator module in here. Regulator. One of these bad boys. And I have to craft up more of these, which in hindsight I should have done earlier. This is actually what I was thinking about when I made all of these things. But, you know, hindsight's always 20/20 and all that. One regulator module later, I should be able to put this just about here somewhere. Actually, I'll put it right here. And yeah, its threshold is set to 4.9 bar, and I don't think I'll be needing to set it any higher or lower. But it has cut off the thing there, so I guess it's easier if I do that and then do this. Oh, I don't like that at all. Right, it seems that the regulator tube doesn't actually support connections on its side, which kind of makes sense. So I'm just going to hook it up like so, and just skip out on a single air compressor. I promise it's not going to matter too much. Now I can take coal blocks, I guess, and just put them in 32 at a time. And over time, I should just be building up pressure. And as soon as this hits 4.9 bar, you'll hear a little psh, and it'll vent up some pressure to make sure my machines don't explode. And having redundant security is always nice in case, you know, something goes wrong. Not everything goes wrong at the same time. But with the compressor out of the way, what I really needed to work on was this stuff. And to make an aerial interface, I need the assembly line, which I can get into later. But right now, to make the assembly stuff, I need finished PCBs. And to make a finished PCB, well, you need a unassembled PCB and a transistor and a capacitor, both of which are, rather funnily, made in the pressure chamber. And these bad boys, turns out, need plastic. Now, the only way to make Pneumaticraft plastic, because I believe at some point in time the plastic from Industrial 4 and Pneumaticraft were interchangeable or something. But right here, molten plastic from Pneumaticraft comes from biodiesel or LPG and coal in a thermopneumatic processing plant. And the way to get LPG is in a refinery to convert crude oil into diesel and LPG. And that, I believe, is the sound of the regulator upgrades and the security upgrades just doing their thing. How neat is that? Now, in reality, I kind of despise the sound, so I'm just gonna stop right here and let this pressure bleed off. And I have just also gone ahead and increased the efficiency of this bad boy by adding some heat sinks, which then connect into the advanced air compressor on the side to pull some of the heat off. And this is cooled from 120 or so degrees down to 100. Well, I'll just mute it in my muffler mod then. Anyways, to get back on track, I would need one of these, which needs a bunch of crafts. And I think I'm going to build the refinery right in front of these compressors over here. It's about 4 blocks tall, which is more than enough space in this room. And ain't no time like the present to get myself a refinery controller, which needs reinforced slabs. Just make a bunch of these, just in case I need them later. A small fluid tank, make a couple, why not? Having a few excess never really hurts. Might just need them in the future. And I think 3 of these will do just fine. Now the refinery multi-block is, I'll just place it in the middle-ish right here. A controller, and then you put a number of outputs. You put a number of outputs at the top. I think I can get away with 2 and an inefficient recipe, but the more you build, the more outputs you can get out of this. And you basically pipe crude oil in the middle, raise the temperature, and then it distills into its constituents. The next machine I would really need is one of these bad boys, the thermopneumatic pressure processing plant. And I think, yeah, I already failed at saying that 3 times fast, but this can go right here. I'll hook it in. This guy requires some pressure, and that I can just hook up like so. And then with coal and LPG on this side, you can produce plastic on this side. I think I'll hook up I'll come up with a better solution for this in a second. I've actually changed my mind. I'll pipe some pressure tubes down and around this guy. But the last machine I want in this list would be a heating frame, one of these guys. And if you put an inventory, or you put one of these on an inventory, like a barrel, then the barrel will cool down. So I'll probably need something like a barrel, I guess, to show off this functionality. Sure, I'll take a regular barrel. I don't need that much plastic, I don't think. Now, whatever I put in here, for example, buckets of plastic, they'll just turn into the plastic items, and then I can import them into my network. Now, to get all of this party started, I would need crude oil, and not crude oil, but crude oil, and especially from the Pneumaticraft mod, I'm quite unsure if the other crude oils can be used in place of the Pneumaticraft oil, and it does look like any crude oil works, so modern industrialization works, and, well, I wonder if the sulfuric crude oil, no. So any crude oil works, and realistically, it's much easier to just go out on the surface and look for black patches of, well, black gold, like this one here. I'll be right back. And you know what time it is? It's time to spread some freedom in these lands. That's a satisfying sound. And that little escapade got me 73 buckets of crude oil, which I can now export into the refinery controller. Now, to get heat onto the refinery controller, I think I'm going to use one of these, a vortex tube. I believe I got this from one of my expeditions in a village, because I definitely do not remember crafting this. But it has a hot side and a cold side, and if you apply pressure to it, the hot side becomes hot and the cold side becomes cold. These are a really, really strange thing to witness in real life because they somehow feel like they defy physics. And I'm currently struggling to place this the right way. Give me a second here. Well, I just remembered I can arrange these. And so the hot side goes to the hot side, and I can just put down more heat pipes and more heat sinks, which are cheap enough to craft, I believe. Heat sink. Well, aren't they called something different? Heat space sink, I bet. Yep. And I guess I'll just craft, why not 6 of these? Sure. So what this aims to do is dump as much heat as possible to keep the cold side as warm as possible so that the hot side can get as hot as possible with the compressed air that I will get from here. In fact, I've chosen to just bind with the compressed air over to the side, and this is now hit high temps, and the hot side is getting hot while the cold side stays at 11C. These will slowly keep heating up and eventually it'll equalize. Now I need a way to pipe from this tank to, well, this controller. And I think I'm just going to use one of those mod pipes for it. Boop. And now as of magically, this thing is just going up and down between, well, 100. And the warning is, I bet, poor insulation. Of course it is. So what this means is I need to first of all move this here so I can better insulate this. I will set this as an output again and then use insulating blocks. And this insulation material happens to be thermal lagging. I can just create a whole bunch of it and just put it on all the sides that I can. Thus I moved that one. And hopefully now if I can grab onto the controller from any one of these sides, hey ho. It's better insulated. One of the 12 is exposed to air, so I bet it's the top. Is it the top? It may well be the top. There we are. No problems here. And this is slowly but surely converting into LPG. And in fact, given that I can convert down all of the... Hold on. What would be a good way to show this off? Diesel. Okay, if I look up diesel and then look at its uses, diesel can be converted into kerosene, which can then be converted into gasoline, which can then be converted into LPG. Now, this transformation is useful because then the gasoline turns into LPG, like I said, and this is a fairly fast process, given that it happens at any temperature above 100, and just uses coal and a tiny, tiny bit of LPG. So the more items I can turn into LPG, the more plastic I can produce, and well, the more is always the merrier, in my opinion. So I'll just make this a 4-tall refinery and set up this plastic automation that I talk about. And I've done a little bit of reorganizing here. I have hooked up a wireless thing, and I'll be bringing myself a P2P connection for this room right here, so I can pull all of these fluids into my system and then export to basically a trio of machines that produce LPG in this corner, pipe into a machine that produces plastic, cools it down, and puts it back in the system. One fresh P2P connection later, I should now be able to connect up this thing to the network. Now I'll segment out a drive, a fluid drive to be precise, and just have an equal distribution module in there. So a 256K fluid storage and a fluid cell, which would be one of these, like so. That's not what I wanted. One of these, one of those, and this should be a fluid storage cell now. And for this guy, I would like to make a couple upgrades. To be precise, an equal distribution card, which tries to evenly distribute all the items, and an overflow destruction card, just so I never end up overflowing on these fluids. So with both of these upgrades in place, and a bucket of each one on these, oh, I cannot put... Allegedly, they're incompatible with these cells, but the fact that it's letting me put these in, I don't know, makes me feel a little bit sketch. I'll try this anyways, and if this doesn't work, I can always just put down fluid drawers over there. Nope, this very clearly just works. Oh, maybe it's talking about the buckets, not the... Oh, well, whatever. This works, and the excess will be wetted off, and that's all I need for now. And I'm thinking right here is a fairly decent spot for 3 of these, which will constantly be outputting and inputting the ingredients and then pulling LPG into them. Does that make sense? Like, this will craft the diesel into the kerosene into gasoline, the gasoline into the LPG, and then all of them will automatically loop through. I'll set it up and I'll show you. Okay, I'm gonna have to change this design once again. Turns out I needed a little bit of temperature, which was just a little, about 300 degrees. And my vortex tube, I'm unsure if it would reach 300 degrees, plus I didn't want to waste that much pressure on getting that temperature up. But it seems like just with all of this being exposed to the air, maybe a little bit of insulation, which, yeah, thermal lagging. I just forgot the name. Maybe if I put some of these down on the one face that it does leave outside, the temperatures across this column can go into operational temperatures. Perfect. Now that did just consume the lava and it turned it into obsidian. And as a result, these temperatures will end up plummeting again. I wonder if there's something I can do about that. And I wonder if actually one of these mechanism resistive heaters will work. And the temp is still going down, but I should be able to put a gate on this bad boy and have this consume. Oh no, I wonder what it stabilizes at is my first question. 306. Does that is too low. So if I up this to 50 Fe per tick, does that push this temp up? How far up? You know what? I can just make it 100 Fe per tick. How about that? And now everything should be in the green because this is producing more heat, and so more and more heat is being passed through. Perfect. Well then, the plastic setup should be as simple as putting down a resistive heater, getting myself another one of these gates, and maybe I can hide this a bit better with the use of heat pipes, but I don't know if the heat pipes will interface with... I do have a few extras, so I can just find out. And yeah, they did, so the last of the plastic setup would look like this. The LPG gets exported into here, and then the liquid plastic gets exported into a barrel with the cooling frame, I guess. Now with this out of the way, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna get these buckets of molten plastic into this barrel and then back out again, because you get the bucket back when you're done crafting. So I would need some sort of intermediary, or maybe this thing just accepts buckets. I don't know. I'll have to try that. Alright, it didn't look like it did, so I can put down a basic fluid tank here. And I guess my next best bet would be to use... Oh wait, I can use the Pneumaticraft tank, can I not? Small fluid tank? I wonder. This does not accept inputs automatically, but if I just do this, I should be able to push the liquid plastic into here using another one of these fluid pipes for now. And then I would need something that pushes the buckets in and then pulls the plastic buckets out into a barrel with vortex tubes on it. Well, I didn't expect it to work the first time. I do need an upgrade here to filter only... Oh, that's from when I was trying to filter out the scrolls. I just figured I'd do those manually. I need this to filter only buckets of molten plastic, so that this only pulls out buckets of molten plastic, which instantly turn into this. And over time, this will fill up with plastic sheets. I won't let that happen, of course, because I'm going to put down an exporter and pull it into the main item spine over here. And just like that, we've got boatloads of plastic coming in. Now, the first thing I'd like to do, given that I fully intend to run this system pretty much all the time, is have some sort of item cell, maybe a 256K one, just because I can, and have it constantly store and destroy all the excess. In fact, maybe I can set it up so that a level emitter turns off this thing once it has maybe a few thousand items. Yeah, I think I'll set that up. So I need a redstone card, which is made like so. And then I believe I can just use a level emitter. Now, it's been a while since I've fooled around with these, but I believe they've push out redstone levels to the area around them, or the blocks around them. So if I just take plastic and I say I want 2048 in the system, and emit levels when it is above or equal to 2048. So once there's 2048 redstone, or 2048 plastic, I would like this to be active without a signal. And the easiest way to test this would be to emit when it is below the limit, and if this is still active, which means this is producing a signal, and that is active without a signal. So with a signal, it should be inactive. That does not seem to be the case. So I wonder if I can turn off this export bus somehow, or this import bus somehow. Would I have to power the block it is in? So basically have the emitter facing inwards? I don't know. Huh. Well, either way, when I do plan on automating this, I can have it set up such that I only output crude oil into the system when I do want plastic to be created, because all of this processing chain ends up in plastic. So I don't know. I guess it's fine. You know, with this plastic and oil out of the way, I think it'd be a worthy endeavor to move this sort of system to an export bus that is controlled via redstone, as I mentioned earlier. So, if I can even get the words out at the moment. Right. So, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if I put down one of these and then have an export bus over here, remove this, and I'm assuming I should be able to do something like this, where I have a level emitter right here, which appears to be online somehow. Oh, just stored power, I guess. But then power this through here itself. Now this should be connected to the network and be powering this guy. So, ooh, I can also enable the behavior of the controller itself. Options, options. I think I'll go with this one. So here, if I say plastic, plastic fantastic, plasty, plastic. If plastic is above 2048, emit a signal. Right. So if the plastic is more than 2048, there will be a signal. So if there is a low signal, it should be enabled. So that means that if the plastic is below 2048, there'll be no signal. And because this is activated via low signal, that's when this works. Perfect. And looking at the type of crude oil I want to use, I think crude oil from modern industrialization is going to be a good shot, because I can automatically produce the oily comb using the oily bee. And go fishing in deep water if you want this oily apid. And I guess I gotta go fishing again, but that's no problem at all. I should just do this, and yeah, this should just work now, assuming I have oil. And according to the map, just past this ocean monument that I've raided in the past, there should be a deep ocean biome, a deep lukewarm ocean. I'll grab my fishing rod that's got the highest enchants. And yeah, well, we just see what happens. I do need cages, now think about it. So I'll grab that, and I'll also grab honey treats, because I imagine they'd be mad about me pulling them out from their homes. And if I can, I'll pull out all 5 of them. Let's see how long this takes. Now, rather importantly, I feel the need to check if the oily bees can produce amongst themselves. And, you know, it doesn't say that it can't, so I can only imagine that it can. Right? Right? Oh, well, I also would like to mention that with a bee stinger, you can take a dying bee, and it's dying because it's lost its stinger, obviously. You can't just give it its stinger back, and it stops dying. And given the fact that it's sort of weak from accidentally hitting me, I should try my best to heal it up, but apparently the treats don't do much. Yeah, oh, that's a comb. What am I on about? Treats. These ones, please. Hey, fully healed up, and I'll now try to breed these. I think they should just use flowers. No reason not to try. Yep, sure enough. And my favorite invention so far is this thing, which lets me just grab a whole boatload of flowers on demand as and when I need them. That's kind of what on demand means. And I should now be able to get, I just need a couple. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should be it, so I'll pull this out. That should be everything. And in trying to get upgrades for those hives, I found out that none of the heated centrifuges actually produce any wax, which means all the wax I was using was either from wax blocks from the Bumble Zone or just wax blocks that I had processed in powered centrifuges earlier. So I've split this out like so and dedicated this entire wall to centrifuges instead of that goofy looking computer. I'll do something with Computercraft later should I need to, but rest assured, oily bees are now producing at full force. They've been given a dedicated storage, and all of these also have some upgrades. I'm slowly just constantly crafting up more. And on the other side of this wall, nothing much has changed really, but I hope to move I almost call this the PRC mechanism on my mind. I was going to move the pressure chamber over here so I can use these cables much easier. And yeah, I'll set up automation for this so that we can make some progress towards getting the transistors, the PCBs, and all of these things. And given the fact that I have the extra walls, I crafted a full stack on accident one time. I might as well just make this a bigger PRC instead of a smaller one. So I'm making this a 4x4 instead. And just as before, I'm going to have to use a valve on, I guess, this side. And the rest I'll fill in with glass. Just like that. And now I think I should be able to put a bunch of speed upgrades in here, and then have an exporter on this, and I should also be able to hook this up like so, put in a security card to make sure this thing doesn't explode. The only problem with the bigger pressure chambers, I believe they come up to pressure slower because of the volume, and in the meantime this has steadily been producing, and unfortunately I'm steadily making quarters tighter in this area, so I think I'm gonna move I don't know. I think I'm going to keep this here. And the assembly line can go right here with the robots for this stuff. And I was thinking about something like this. Now, I was looking into the speed upgrades required to speed up the opening and closing of this guy right here, speed upgrades, which takes 10 of them. And it turns out I would need diesel. And unfortunately, I'm constantly processing my diesel into kerosene. So turns out I'm going to have to either pull diesel out into a separate storage or stop the export of diesel only briefly until I get a bucket so that I can combine it with redstone to get me the required lubricant to make the speed upgrades. And it just makes more sense to just show this here. It takes one bucket to make one, or I can use drops of glycerol. And well, I'm obviously not doing that, so I'll need, I guess, 10 buckets of diesel before I can do anything else, which means I get to remove this right here. Or actually, rather unfortunately, I should have done this the other way around. I should have just turned off the redstone behavior here. Make it only work when the redstone's high. And then I can just pull diesel back in here. Neat. Oop. Cool. I'll just wait. In the meantime, I have automation patterns to make for, I guess, everything that is made in a pressure chamber that I can't automate otherwise. And while making these, I figure I might as well just toss the ATM star recipe in here too. Just, I also imagine the Patrick star was made in the PRC. Ooh, double clicking that puts it in filter mode, but I don't exactly need that. That's also made in the PRC, so might as well do that. And off the top of my head, that's everything I need at the moment. Now, speed upgrades are helpful because they reduce the time the gates for the input and output stay open, so you lose less pressure that way. And well, losing less pressure is always nice because it takes less time for stuff to craft and repressurize, because like I said, this big chamber is taking forever to come up to pressure, and I would rather not have to repressurize this over and over again. Okay, well, the next step in this process, while I wait for diesel, happens to be producing unassembled PCBs, which are made in an etching tank. So, well, the least I can do is just make one of these. What am I missing here? A small fluid tank. I can make one of these. I think I just need the one. A couple of these, why not? Oh, I'm out of these things, aren't I? Well, a little bit of crafting. I don't know. should I craft these things on camera? All these recipes are just available through JEI, so I don't exactly see the point of me going through this, but hey ho, here's an etching tank. And I believe this guy also needs... Ooh, it needs temperature, I believe. Not pressure. So if it needs temperature, then I should probably put it closer to the heating pipes that I have running down here. Or maybe I'll just use an independent heat source. You know what? I'm thinking I'll just embrace the chaos here. I'll put the etching tank right here. Everything that comes in or goes out of the etching tank will happen from right here. So I was using a resistive heater for the other stuff. And I have one left over because I just end up using the one. Now that should bring this temperature right up. And I believe a higher temperature means that this has a chance. Etching acid will be used if it's above 50C, and if I remove this, does it cool back down to 50C? I forgot what it was at ambient, but if I could just leave this alone and it just works, that'd be nice. And the other thing is the etching acid itself. The etching acid is made in a PRC again, with gunpowder, rotten flesh, spider eye, and a molten bucket of plastic. And, well, if I do this right, I should just have to do this once. So, just gonna seal the bucket of plastic that shows up here. If I have fast enough fingers, that is. I lied. I tried for a couple times and nothing really happened, so I resorted to essentially cheating. Here it is. Here's the bucket of plastic. Anyways, I believe that was everything this thing needed, so bucket of latex. Ooh, I'll have to input it through something, so I'm guessing I need another interface then. That's annoying. Right, I guess I can't quite put it in directly because I need multiple items, so I'm just resorting to moving the pattern provider itself. I'll just toss all this stuff in here. 2 of these, 2 of these. Oh, this doesn't auto output now, does it? I bet there's an upgrade for that. And I don't know what came over me. This is the best I could come up with. I have just resorted to making my favorite Italian pasta out of Pneumaticraft things, and I've chosen spaghetti to be the one. I don't know what happened to my wrench, but hopefully it's in here, and it sure is. So I should be able to do this, and now, if I put this in, it should load itself into the PRC. I keep calling it the PRC. 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. And all of these should end up in here, right? And sure enough, that made etching acid. Now, the real question is, was it stuck in there? And the answer is no, it ended up back in the system. Perfect. Oh, okay, does this hurt? I wonder if it does. Oh yeah, it hurts. Okay, cool. Alright, I think we might have something to do with temperature. Can I pipe into this? Oh, I just have to right click into it. Okay, well, either way. Now it's done. There's etching acid in here. Now what I need is a empty PCB, which is once again produced in a PRC. Well, pressurized reaction chamber. Well, I'm technically correct, right? And after putting in the recipe, if I request one, it should make 3 anyways, and put in the requisite amounts into the chamber. Hopefully one at a time. You know, I can put this on blocking mode and lock crafting until primary result is returned. That makes sense, right? And now we just wait. Just craft it instantly. And the output should be... Is it in here? It is. And it's now here. Perfect. It doesn't do much by itself. That sure is correct. Now, this is empty, and to etch it, I imagine you would put it in an etching tank. Oh, a UV light box to cure it. Oh, okay. That's no problem at all. I can just make that too. Why not? The more the merrier, right? Just a couple of these, and what's that thing in the middle there? Okay, cool. I got to use the Amadron tablet. Amadron is a way to essentially buy items from this mod, as and when you need them. Okay, I should have control clicked that. And it's similar to the market where I bought all the seeds in a previous episode. Surprised I had an air canister. And then I imagine I'll also need a charger because, or charging station. Yeah, I got these from the villages that I raided, but yeah, so this goes here and that goes here. And this will eventually fill up with pressure. I do want to put a security in here too, because I don't want no explosions happening. And the Amadron tablet essentially lets you select a... Sure, I'll make a barrel, why not? Lets you select a inventory. And it lets you browse for deals. In my case, I want... What do I want? I want the blueprint, right? So this was the blueprint, the PCB blueprint. So it says, hey, you're missing an inventory. So I right-click here, shift right-click here, it's selected. And now it tells me what all I can buy into that inventory. As you can see, the fluids I cannot buy or sell. If I right-click here, it says, hey, you need to add more stuff. That means it's out of emeralds. So I just need to give this thing a handful of emeralds. And now I should be able to afford myself one of these. I right-clicked it, and now it's a place order. And a drone should now zoop out of nowhere. There it is. That's taking away the emeralds. It took away 8 of them, because that's how much it costs. And then, hey, my Amadron delivery is here. A PCB blueprint. Excellent. And with this, I should just be able to craft up the etching tank, or sorry, the UV light box. I believe this one needs... Yeah, this one does need... And I don't think this one takes security upgrades, right? Oh, it does. Okay, cool. Don't want to risk any explosions here because some of these things are a pain to craft, right? So just playing it on the safer side here. And now, okay, that's bright. But hey, now this is slowly going to etch until it becomes a fully etched PCB. And each one of these has a probability of being successful in the etching tank. So that's what this threshold sets it to. And I think I'm okay with an 85% probability of success. The odds are then in my favor, right? So yeah, I'll just do that. And looking a little ahead, it does also seem that I would need one of these drill and laser things to make myself these PCBs, right? Oh, just laser, not drill and laser. Okay. Oh, that's quite alright. I could just right click that, place another order, and it'll show up. How cool is that? Same day delivery and all of that jazz too, can you imagine? And that was done just in time to witness the completion of this thing. 85%, come on now, anytime. 86, cool, now I get to put it in here. And another horrendously slow process. Right, so, as I mentioned before, to make lubricant I would need redstone, which I've gotten spades now, and diesel, which I think I would need a tank for. So any old tank would do. I don't think I have 32 buckets of diesel, but I have 7. And I just put all my tanks back in. What? You know, it's been a somewhat long day, so it is what it is at this point. And I should just be able to left click it. I just did it again. And you know, shift left clicking works significantly better. However, I can now not do that. Empty this thing out in here and do that. And of course this needs a higher temperature, but that is still etching. Actually, it's done etching, so perfect. I can just crank this to like 200 for a second. Watch the temperature go up, and hey ho, we'll have lubricant. Perfect. 1 bucket at a time. And Born Slippy is quite the funny advancement name to choose, but that's enough of that. And I can turn this back down. And I'm just slowly on a cruise of crafting up these speed upgrades one at a time because these buckets don't replace themselves. It's a slightly annoying quirk, but that's all 7 of them. And currently, I think I'm gonna put these in here just so that this goes by a little bit faster for now. And I'm not gonna be using my... Actually, I'll split them in halves later. But to make that assembly unit, and so to make these guys, I would need an assembly platform, I/O unit, another I/O unit, one's export, one's import, and then an assembly laser. And that needs 1, 2, 3, 4 of these guys. 4 finished PCBs, right? That checks out. Oh, of course, I'll also need a controller if that needs to work. So, well, 5. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 assembled PCBs. Okay, well, they're done in batches of 6, so... And given the fact that I'm now doing this, this is going rather quickly. Not too bad. And now that I've got 5 in hand and a few more in the tank, I think I'm well on my way to get... Oh, I need finished PCBs, don't I? Oh, well, I gotta request some of these, some of those, right? Yeah. I might just have a few left over, so I can at least get started with this stuff. And it turns out in the rest of the crafting recipes, the 2 plastics are somewhat interchangeable, which is really nice. And the I/O arms are just crafted one from the other, so... Now, you turn the import into the export into the import. And that's all of these. This guy needs 3 more, which will be done very soon. I just need to request a few capacitors, I believe. What the hell, I'll ask for 10. Oh, was that all 10 already? I thought it was just 1. Oh, that's awfully slow. Oh, and it has to be returned to the same pattern provider, eh? Oh well. I'm gonna have to change this. Never lock crafting. And yeah, sure enough, this is just slowly doing its business. In the meantime, I think... Oh, you know what? I also need transistors now. Right on cue. Transistors. I will take 10 of these. I also do like the sound of the mechanical doors. It's pretty neat. There we are. I just need 1 more. And you know, as expected, the pressure is dropping too quickly. Every time the doors open, it drops a little bit of pressure, so I've had to refuel some of these compressors. But hey, you know what? At least I have everything I need to get all of this up and running. Here we are, production line. Now, the production line sets up something like this, and I like to set it up where I get one of these, the laser behind it, and import on one side, export on a different side, but because my cables are over here, I think I'll manage it that way, and then an assembly platform. I think that's how this works. And of course this needs pressure, so a little bit of cable rerouting might be in order here. With these arms, they only talk to barrels, and so if I'm going to be doing it this way, I'm going to have a pattern provider. A flat one will do just fine on one end, and exactly like this guy, an import bus on the other, and then I'll just pull off a connection like so. And now if I pattern provide into the system, I should then be able to, well, this guy will insert and then process and then output. And I've just moved a few things around because, well, of course, something's going to have to be powered, and that something's going to be the controller block. And hopefully I can put in a security upgrade before this thing goes kaboom. And I think 7 is the perfect amount I needed. Problems, not enough pressure, no program. Well, that solves one of the things. And everything is slowly coming up to pressure, so no worries there. But I think this is everything. once everything's up to pressure, we get to test out this thing. And I'll already encode the pattern because why not? One of those makes one of these. Put that in here. And I think that's it. And while I'm waiting for all of that to come up to pressure, I do remember that something called a flux compressor exists and that I should be able to make it just rather easily because, well, I have everything I need, I believe. This is made just quite the same way with, you know, in the same assembly. I think so, at least. Assembly laser, yeah. This guy, however, uses an assembly drill, so I can't make it from a compressed iron block, but I have extra. And I've got a couple extra of these. Turbine rotors are made just like so, so that's, again, not too bad of a craft. And a flux compressor basically is one of these compressors, but it runs on electricity, so no more coal burning. Hooray! It's all green and good for the environment. And now that this is up to 3.5 bar of pressure, I can put 20 pressure chamber valves in here. And all the imports should perk up and grab it out of there, right? That's how that thing's crafted, right? Assembly controller with import export with the program laser. Oh, this is program drill. And you know what? I'm a firm believer of why not both, so instead of just drill, why not drill and laser? Is that how this works? Not all machines are inserted for the program are present. I don't know about that. 20 pressure chamber valves. Is there a separate program that I need? An assembly program into the controller? What am I doing wrong here? Hold on. Oh, it needed to be the laser one, and I bought the drill and laser, but not anything but the correct one. Third time's a charm? Maybe? Okay, let's try this one last time before I end this episode right here. It's got the program. Not all machines are in. Add one assembly drill to your assembly system. Okay, well, if you insist, sure. Well, what's a drill take? I mean, I can craft it all the same. I'll just toss it down here. Oh, and it all perks up. Perfect. I do really enjoy the animations for this, but I would have wished that it was a bit faster. And, you know, fortunately for me, I have speed upgrades. That's so cool. And hey, that was the advanced pressure tubes. I just needed the one. And now I should be able to make, ooh, well, after a little bit of effort. And just like that, I now have a flux compressor, which means I get to tear all of these out. Goodbye, all of these. And hello, one big guy. Now this one produces heat as well, which is why it's connected to this massive heat sink over here. And I can just, you know, toss a gate on here, no biggie. Just, this one will do just fine. Like so. And it should be going. I'm going to put in a security upgrade, because why not? This machine produces heat, this has an input. Stored energy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it just seems like it's working, right?